Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Monday. It's August 19th. It is 2024. We have a 9-game MLB slate to talk about here on today's podcast. Joined today by my friend, Stevietpfl, TastefulTides in the DFS streets. Tim, what's happening, my friend?
Yeah, not much, Stevie. They're already asking for Will in the YouTube chat. They're so used to having Will on Sunday nights. So it's always great to be here, Stevie. I'm looking forward to breaking down the slate with you. Looking forward to it.
NASCAR and MLB on a Monday, 9-game slate, and ready to talk some baseball back in the baseball streets here. And Will, typically on Mondays, we switched around the schedule a little bit for August to fit everybody's schedule accommodations. And Tim gracefully coming on here on a Sunday night. And I had way more time to do stuff today than I normally do on a Sunday because the race got moved around. So excited to jump back in baseball. People say I look 10 years younger.
You do look 10 years younger. I don't want to say it, but they said it first. But you do. Yeah.
So next Sunday, the club volleyball team that I coach, we have our media day, and I like my mustache and my beard to look a certain way. So I got to cut it 7 days ahead of time to get the optimal look. All joking aside, I am still messing with this new razor that I got, and I just trimmed my mustache too low. So I wasn't going to shave the beard, but then it looked really funny. So I was like, I guess I got to shave. So that's what happened on Sunday. No NASCAR. Sunday just messed me all up with NASCAR getting moved to Monday after 45, 50 laps. So let's talk baseball. Ready to break down the baseball streets here. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind YouTube page. Turn on notifications. Come hang out with us live. We like the chat. I love the chat. I think it's awesome. Yeezy's in there all the time. Johnson, Matt, C4, Cammy, Dave, Richie. Could be good mojo. Okay. All right. Stevie got a Dean complex. That was good. That one made me laugh. That was solid.
That is a good one.
All right, listen, I think Dean's coming on this week. I'm pretty sure Dean's on the podcast this week. So we'll have to see what Dean thinks. But all right, we got Cincinnati at Toronto. No total in this game because we have no idea who is pitching for Cincinnati here. I was trying to figure it out pre-show, and it looks like it's going to be a bullpen game, or they're going to call somebody up and pitch here. So see how it kind of shapes up. But with Hunter Green going on the IL, this is his rotation spot. So it would typically be Hunter Green today. And out of kind of nowhere, he threw. I mean, granted, the guy, he's having a little bit of elbow issues, and we'll have to see what's going on. But I mean, he's averaging the most pitches per start this season, so doesn't shock me that he's having a little bit of issues with the elbow. But we'll see who's pitching for Cincinnati. Hopefully we get that news in the morning. But right now, we don't know. Kevin Gausman pitching for Toronto. We know that. We just don't know who he's facing yet. Any interest here in Gausman against the Reds?
I think I have to have a little bit of interest. Granted, he's not the same guy that he once was. Big drop off from last season. K's way down. But, he's also not super expensive. And this Reds team does have a tendency to strike out. I do have a little bit of interest in Gausman. Not a ton. If he's going to be popular at all, I might walk back that statement. But if he's going to be low owned, I think we can take shots on Gausman in this spot at under 9K.
Yeah, my biggest issue for Gausman right now is I am almost curious if he's dealing with maybe a little bit of arm fatigue because his recent numbers, the swinging strikes and the whiffs are way down. Hard hits are still staying up, and he's gotten a little lucky on the BABIP side of things too. So I am a little concerned about some of the numbers for Gausman. I mean, his strikeout rate over the last month is 15.6%, and he's 21% on the season. So his whiff rate's down over 2%. His whiff rate is down almost 4%, and his swinging strike rate is down 2%, and he's getting lucky. So, I mean, really worries me about Gausman. I don't disagree with you, though. The pitching on the slate, not fantastic. It's not terrible, but it's not fantastic. So if Gausman's going to be low owned because he's a little pricey here, like you said, Cincinnati can strike out with the best of them. They also can hit home runs and run up a score really fast as well. They have a lot of upside in general.
If this was in Cincinnati, I'd have little to no interest in him. But this is a big ballpark downgrade for them. So, and Will Benson does strike out 41% of the time. So that's a couple Ks right there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we'll see.
I've never seen such a high K rate on such a large sample. I don't know if
he strikes out a ton. Big. I mean,
it's unbelievable.
You need to go look at some Joey Gallo numbers.
That's true. That's true.
So, all right. Let's talk bats here. Cincinnati bats first. Any interest here in the Reds?
I mean, not particularly. Like I said, if this was in Cincinnati, I would definitely have some interest. I guess maybe. I mean, obviously you can always play Ellie. I mean, that's obvious. Ellie not factored in. I'd say guys like TJ Friedel would be my next choice. Assuming Jake Fraley makes the lineup, I would say that he would be my next choice. Will Benson's either going to strike out 3 times or hit a home run and strike out 2 times at 3,100. That's not horrible, I guess. But yeah, it's really kind of these mid-price lefties, maybe to get like a mini stack. But like I said, I kind of am siding with Gausman in this game.
Gausman he's allowed the 6th most stolen bases for starting pitching this season. Excellent spot for Ellie De La Cruz if he can get on base. We just talked about how Gausman's strikeouts have been way down. I think this is a huge upside spot for Ellie De La Cruz. Jonathan India, Friddle, Candelario. I could see myself making a red stack. Don't know if it'd be a full stack, but I think targeting Cincinnati in this spot is better than you think. I mean, we don't always have to agree on stuff. So I like the Reds today. I really like Ellie De La Cruz. I could see him having a humongous game today with this. I mean, Gausman he's not a guy that holds on runners very well, and De La Cruz can steal 4 bases in the game. So love his upside in this spot. Toronto bats, almost impossible to talk about Toronto bats right now because we just don't know who's pitching for the Reds. So I think it's a wait and see approach. I don't want to sit here and say, I want to play this guy and this guy. I really want to see who the pitcher is going to be. If it's going to be a full-on bullpen game or whatever. I'm just worried that we get a full-on bullpen game here from the Reds, and they're a top 10 bullpen. So, probably a situation that I'll wait till tomorrow throughout the day to kind of make the decision.
Yeah, there really isn't a player that stands out as quote unquote too cheap, in any matchup. No screaming values. Vlad is appropriately priced. I think Springer is appropriately priced. So there's really no value guys that I would say, this guy is too cheap against X pitcher.
Yeah, I mean, if you get a righty opener or a righty starter here, Lou Fido at 2,500 is cheap. He's been in this lineup consistently ever since the trade deadline. So 6th, 7th, 8th hitter in that range. But I mean, he has been hitting a little bit better here, since the trade. Baltimore at New York. Mets, 8.5 total. Mets a 134 favorite. The lefties facing off against each other. We got Rogers and Peterson. Any interest here in Trevor Rogers?
I do not. He's already a pretty low K rate pitcher. He's going up against a fairly low K rate Mets team. I don't really have much faith in Rogers in this spot. So he's a exclude button for me.
Yeah, just not missing bats overall. The Mets, I would prefer a left-handed pitcher against the Mets more than a right-handed pitcher, but I still don't love this spot for Rogers. I want to be able to attack this lineup, and he's just not a pitcher that's going to attack this lineup. So yeah, we'll talk about the bats in a second, but I have some interest in the Mets today. Peterson on the other side, tough matchup going up against Baltimore. Any interest here in Peterson?
Usually I like Peterson, but in this spot, he's a easy stay away for me. This Orioles team is just too tough. I don't want to attack them ever, really.
Yeah, I want to see what the lineup looks like. I mean, if they leave 3 or 4 lefties in this lineup against Peterson, maybe it piques my interest a little bit more. I think they're going to do the best they can to try to get all the lefties out of the lineup, or most of them. I think Henderson will play, but I just don't know if they're going to be able to get like Holiday, Kowser, O'Hearn, and Mullins all out of the lineup. So because of some injuries that they have right now. So I think overall, I think this is a spot you're going to wait to see what the lineup looks like for Peterson. I like Peterson in general, and I think he's been pitching a little bit better. He doesn't have like the longest leash, which is definitely concerning, but good ballpark in Citi Field. And I mean, again, I want to see if they leave all the lefties in here and they can't get all the lefties out, maybe I have more interest in him. But I mean, Santander, Mateo, these guys should get in the lineup today, and they have just absolutely crushed left-handed pitching. So if that's the case, right, like then you're just not playing Peterson. Baltimore bats, they're expensive. They're in Citi Field. They're against a decent pitcher. Any interest in Baltimore?
I mean, I always have interest in Gunnar Henderson. I think he's and like Ryan Mountcastle, I think is a pretty strong play. Eloy, I think he's an interesting play also. But not really. They're really, really expensive. I don't think the matchup is outstanding. It's a pretty big ballpark downgrade for them. So not really that high on Baltimore, but they are a standout offense. So they're tough to fade completely in a 20 max setting.
Yeah, it really just comes down to ownership. Like, is Baltimore getting any love today? If they're not getting any love today,
I don't think they're going to get any love.
Yeah, they can break a slate. I mean, they have that type of upside. So it'd be interesting to see what we're looking at projected ownership wise for Baltimore, because like Rutschman, Santander, Mountcastle, even Henderson lefty is good. They got Eloy in the trade deadline, so like they have some right-handed hitters in this lineup. So be interesting.
Eloy is so cheap. Like, I know he hasn't been great, but 3,300 for Eloy in the middle of this lineup just seems like such a strong play.
Yeah, I mean, would you be great if you were playing for the White Sox? I mean, he has new life in Baltimore. So
right.
I like the Mets today. I think it's a really good spot. Rogers, again, not a very overpowering pitcher. He has a pretty low swinging strike rate. Lindor, Vientos, Alonso, Marte. If they catch that one guy, what is his name? Torrens, I think.
The backup catcher.
He has some pop, but I would assume it's going to be Alvarez because Alvarez got the day off on Sunday. So even Alvarez at 3,200, I think is fine. So yeah, I mean, a lot of interest today in the Mets. It just, you got to remember what ballpark this game's in. So I think your home run upside is still kind of limited, but I think the upside overall might be worth taking some shots. The matchup overall.
Yeah, the matchup overall is fantastic. It's just the ballpark that really, really, it's not great. So guys like, Pete Alonso at 5K, like I think even at Citi Field, that's a fantastic price for this matchup. And then you got guys like you already mentioned, Vientos, Lindor. I love Alvarez at 3,200. He may very well be like a cash game type catcher, depending on where he is in the lineup spot. But yeah, I think this is a pretty strong spot for the Mets.
All right, we got Pittsburgh at Texas, 8.5 total in this game. Texas, a 126 favorite. Ortiz and Urena. Any interest here in Luis Ortiz?
Definitely not.
Yeah, I mean, just again, like pitching on the slate, we're kind of grabbing a straw.
We still don't need Ortiz though.
No, I know. I mean, not against Texas. Ortiz, a below average strikeout guy. He is throwing more pitches now, but like ever since he's kind of moved back into like this starting role out of the bullpen, like his strikeout rate has been awful. It's like 12% over the last month, giving up a ton of barrels. And he has been very lucky. Like you look at the numbers for him and you're like, oh man, this guy's been lucky and he's putting up these numbers. So I'm with you. No interest in Ortiz. Any interest in Jose Urena on the other side here?
I don't. But I would say I was looking at him before we got on air. and he's only given up over 300 runs twice since April, and they were both against Boston. Like somehow he just escapes with his garbage skill set. So I don't have any interest in him, but boy, has he gotten away with some games this year.
Yeah, I mean, he's a 60 to 70 pitch pitcher. He gets hit really hard, and I mean, he runs pure. So, I mean, overall, I think that he doesn't have really any upside for me. So I'm with you. I don't want to play Jose Urena.
I'm definitely out on him.
Problem is, it's like, who do we take advantage of him as far as like the Pittsburgh bats? I mean, obviously you got O'Neill Cruz, you got Brian Reynolds. I wouldn't mind like a Joey Bart, Rowdy Tellez. I think I 3-man Pittsburgh more than I full stack them. But I mean, anytime Jose Urena is pitching, I want to have interest in bats against him.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want to get some exposure against him for sure. You just cannot strike anybody out. He just does not miss bats. So, I mean, the thing is, though, it's just the opportunity cost at shortstop is always just so high. But I mean, O'Neill Cruz is a great play. Brian Reynolds, boy, is he expensive. 5,700. Like, I just don't know if I can click that. So, I mean, I want to get to some Pirates, but like you said, I just don't know who.
I like the Texas side of this game. We're talking about
Texas.
Ortiz. Yeah, like this seems like a really, really good spot for Texas. I think that they're one of my top stacks on the slate. Corey Seager, one of my top hitters on the slate. Texas is a team I want to pay up for today.
Yeah, like you and I don't always agree, but we definitely agree on this one. I'm very high on Texas. I kind of felt like Corey Seager was the best overall play on the entire slate. Kind of looking forward to see what his home run odds are. I'm sure they'll be not great, but I might click it anyway. Really like Seager. Really like Josh Smith at 4,300. Even guys like Tavares, who's like only 2,900. I think he's an interesting value play. Nathaniel Lowe at 3,700. So like they're priced pretty low, and I think they have a really massive ceiling.
All right, moving on. Boston at Houston. My Red Sox in Astros country. 7.5 total. Astros a 134 favorite. Tanner Houck against Yusei Kikuchi. Any interest here in Houck?
I think this is a very, very tough matchup. I mean, we saw their JV lineup on Sunday, but I expect that Jordan will be back in the lineup. So Houck only has like a 21% K rate. The Astros really don't strike out that heavily. So I don't have any interest in Houck.
Yeah, I mean, he has been really struggling just to miss bats, and he just faced this team, and this is going to be, or he just faced this team like 2 weeks ago, and this will be the second time he's faced them in like 3 starts. So, just a low strikeout matchup anyway. So I think overall, I'm just not going to do it today. I do have some interest in Yusei Kikuchi on the other side because, hey, 1, pitching is kind of limited today. And 2, I like left-handed pitchers against my Sox way more than I like right-handed pitchers against them. They're not going to be able to get all these lefties out of the lineup. Kikuchi has a 33% K rate over the last 30 days. He's been striking out teams. He has over 8 strikeouts in 3 of his last 5 starts. Like Kikuchi a lot here. I think this was a really good pickup and smart pickup by Houston. And I like this spot a lot for him today.
I really love Kikuchi in this spot. I think he's in a fantastic spot. I think he's had a really solid year. He's the first pitcher on the slate that I circled. And then I saw his price and I was like, I thought it'd be a little bit lower, but it's not bad. It's still not bad. So definitely not priced out on him. He's one of my favorite pitchers on the entire slate. Love, attacking Boston with lefties. We've been doing it all year. So I wouldn't stop now.
Yeah. You just look at this lineup and it's a really good lineup against right-handed pitching, but you start looking at it against lefties. And like, I'm super happy that Cassis is back too, but another lefty that they're going to try to get out of the lineup. So you just look at the lineup and you're really scared to play righties against Boston. You're not as scared at all to play lefties against Boston because, I mean, there's a good chance that there's 3 to 4, maybe even 5 lefties in this lineup still because they just can't get all these guys out. I like Kikuchi. I think this is a really solid spot for him. You're always worried about him getting into like walk issues and his pitch count rising up. But I mean, outside of that, I think that's the one thing. Like you can always find one thing that you don't love about somebody typically, but that's the one thing.
Yeah, like we had a question in chat right here. Can he go 6 innings? And I think in this spot he can. I'm not too worried about it against this Boston team.
Yep. Bats, any interest in the Boston Bats?
Nope.
Yeah, I think if you're going to chase a home run, it's fine. And I think where you're going to chase the home run is with a guy like Tyler O'Neill. 350 ISO against left-handed pitching this season, 450 WOBA. He just strikes out a ton. So if you want to chase a home run, I think Tyler O'Neill would be your guy. And then on the other side, I mean, I don't hate Houston in this spot. Like you said, their lineup was kind of watered down on Sunday. Jordan Alvarez, a great home run spot. Bregman banged up. It was an elbow thing for him. So he might actually be out of lineup again. But I do like Alvarez. And if Bregman sits, I mean, we could make a little 3-man here with Houston. You're potentially going to have 2 guys like under 4K to build with Jordan Alvarez.
Yeah, I mean, I never mind Alvarez at all. I can't imagine he's going to be that popular either. So I have no issue with that at all. I think that you can obviously, you can play guys like, Altuve anytime. I guess who's the other, maybe like a Diaz, maybe like a Zach DeZenzo. If he's in the lineup, or John Singleton would be your cheap guy. One of those two playing first would be your cheap piece.
Yeah, and then, I mean, potentially a cheap catcher or something. Like, I think you're going to have some cheap pieces potentially for Houston. So, let's see what the lineup looks like for the Astros today. Angels and Royals in Kansas City. 9 total in this game. Kansas City, a 205 favorite. Carson Fulmer, Seth Lugo. Any interest here in Fulmer?
No, I think this is a pretty tough matchup going into KC. He doesn't have much of a leash. Like he had a little bit of a leash against the Yankees, but usually they're keeping him around. Seems like 75 pitches. It's a pretty tough matchup. I know he's cheap, but I really don't have much interest at all.
Yeah, I have no interest in Fulmer. I think Kansas City is a fantastic stack, and we'll get to them in just a second. Seth Lugo, his strikeouts have really dipped down here recently. I like the matchup for Seth Lugo today. Pitching is rough, but the price is the thing where it's like it's tough to swallow 9,500 for Lugo when you know you're probably running him out there to try to get you like 25 to 30 fantasy points. He's had some tough matchups here recently. We talked about how good Boston is against righties. Got rocked last time out by Minnesota. I could see Seth Lugo pitching a really solid game here. It's just whether or not you want to pay the price.
I just can't do it. I mean, I completely agree with your analysis. Like he could hit a ceiling in the spot. I just could not click 9,500 for Seth Lugo. I just can't do it. I know he's hit, some 30 plus games so far this season. In easy matchups like this. But there's just a few other guys in that 9K range, that I prefer more. So I'm going to stay away from Lugo in 3 max. Sure, if you're building out 20 teams, get a couple Lugos, but I'm staying away. I can't trust him at this price.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to play a little bit in like a 20 entry max build. He might even make like a 3 entry max build for me today. Like Angels lineup is awful. It's really bad.
I know it's so bad.
Really, really bad. The bottom half of this lineup strikes out a ton. So that's going to help with Lugo's like recent struggles with strikeouts in general. So the price is sticker shock, but you look at the pitching on the slate and you're like, man, I'm going to have to play some Lugo. Is he my favorite pitcher on the slate? No. I actually think the next game has one of my favorite guys on the slate. So, any interest in the Angels bats?
Yeah, me too, Stevie. Oh, sorry. Angels bats, no chance. I would exclude them even in 150.
Yeah, just not nobody I want to play. I do want to pick on Carson Fulmer though. Vinny Pasquantino, Bobby Witt, Perez, Massey. I like this team a lot here. I think this is a fantastic spot for Kansas City. You're picking probably two of Pasquantino, Perez, Witt. If you're stacking Kansas City, you're probably playing Witt. Like, that's your ceiling guy. But the rest of the team's pretty cheap still. You can make a Kansas City stack and get two of those guys and still get three bats and with them and still have a really solid looking pitching core. So I like Kansas City today.
Yeah, the only reason that I wouldn't have Witt in my lineup is because I like Corey Seager more for $1,100 less.
Shortstop, that's really absolutely loaded today.
I know it's crazy. Shortstop is such a good position this year.
Oh, it's wild. Like even on like a 9-game Monday slate, like we're halfway through the slate and like it's three guys at shortstop where you're like, man, if I don't have one of those three guys, or if I pick the wrong one, I could be in trouble. I mean, right. we almost every day we're like, who's going to score 25 plus fantasy points today at shortstop? So, yeah, I mean, Kansas City, great spot, like it. Yep. Fulmer, not good. Bullpen, Angels, mediocre. Tampa Bay at Oakland is where we go next. 8 total. Tampa Bay, a 148 favorite. Taj Bradley, Joe Boyle. I like Bradley a lot today. Like, he is very, 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 very inconsistent. But he has strikeout upside, and we just don't have a lot of that today. So I think I'm going to take the risk and play the guy that has a 28.5% strikeout rate.
Yeah, and this is one of the reasons why I don't want to play Seth Lugos, because I want to play Taj Bradley right around that same price tag. So this is a tremendous spot for him. He's been bad his last couple starts. That's okay. That happens. He still has a 29% K rate. I think he's got a massive ceiling in this matchup. So he is right up there as my top pitcher of the day. Really like him. Looking forward to see what his K prop's going to be. I'm guessing it's going to be 7.5. Would you say, Stevie? 7.5 probably.
It might be lower just because of how he's been pitching recently.
Well, if it's lower, I'm going to bet it. If it's 6.5, I'm going to bet it. I don't care if it's highly juiced.
Yeah, I didn't see it before the show. I'm quickly trying to pull it up to see if it's up now. Yeah, it's up. It's at 5.5.
Oh my goodness!
You got to pay -160, but it's 5.5.
That's not terrible, really.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I am a huge Oakland fan. I think that this team has a lot of good young pieces that have a lot of upside. But I mean, recently they've been ice cold. So I mean, outside of like Roker, because he just doesn't stop hitting. I think he's at 29 home runs or something. But I just think overall it's a spot where you're playing the ceiling of Bradley, So that's where I'm at with Bradley. Mm-hmm. And then other side of this game, Joe Boyle. I was really hoping that like Joe Boyle was going to be 6K today. I think the Tampa lineup is atrocious. I've said this many, many times. You guys, I mean, it's probably old to you at this point. Joe Boyle has some strikeout upside. He just gets hit hard, and he gets hit really hard by lefties. They don't have hard-hitting lefties outside of Brandon Lau and Josh Lowe. I'm tempted to play some Joe Boyle today, based purely on the matchup and the ballpark, and hope that maybe he can, one of these hard balls that he gives up stays in the ballpark or something, and like he doesn't give up a bunch of home runs. But I think he's worth chasing the strikeout upside for in this matchup against Tampa. They have a lot of strikeouts in this lineup.
You're absolutely right. And I was kind of thinking the same thing. I was like, man, I wish he was cheaper. I can't quite do it in a 3 max setting. I get your theory though. Don't hate it. I don't think it's a bad play by any means. I don't know. There's just other pitchers that I prefer more. So it's just yeah. But I mean, I don't hate the play.
All right, let's talk bats. Any interest here in the Tampa bats?
You mentioned them. It's low and low, right? I mean, that's really about it for me.
Yeah, I mean, overall, Brendan Lau is a phenomenal play today.
Yeah,
it's just a really, really good spot. Like I said, Boyle, when he struggles, it's power lefties. Like Tampa's lineup could potentially be like worse too. Diaz left the game Sunday, and like that's one of the guys that actually can hit too. I mean,
oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so like this lineup,
he's a relatively low K rate player too. So
yeah, he's one of the few that are under like 20%. So
I didn't know that. So this lineup could end up being like atrociously bad.
Yeah, he got hit by a pitch in the first inning.
All right, I didn't see
left
that.
The game. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that makes your play even better then if he's out of the lineup. Yeah.
Oakland bats. Bradley, when he struggles, he's wild and he can get hit hard. I think if you're playing Bradley, like I'm going to play Bradley. I like Bradley. I'm going to chase the ceiling.
I'm playing Bradley.
But I also think I want to play some Oakland against him on non-Bradley teams.
I don't mind it. I mean, who are you thinking? Like JJ Bleday,
Roker, Bangaliers,
Bangaliers, Butler. Yeah, I don't mind it. I just hate this, the ballpark situation. It's just so ugly.
I hate it too. It's just more of like when Bradley struggles, he struggles. I mean, like there's nothing safe about Taj Bradley. I mean, if you look at it over his last 3 starts, he's given up 15 earned runs. I mean, like he is a guy that when he struggles, he struggles. So, it's more of just saying like, I think Bradley puts up 28 or 5. And like, if he's struggling and he's only putting up 5 fantasy points, that means Oakland's hitting him a little bit. And I mean, again, Bleday, Roker, Bangaliers, I mean, these 3 guys they're all having a really solid season. They're just on the wrong team in the wrong ballpark.
Yeah, Ian, I would imagine Bradley is going to get some sort of ownership tomorrow. So it could be like a decent leverage spot to get to a couple A stacks in your portfolio.
All right, Minnesota at San Diego. 7 total in this game. The Padres are 150 favorite. Zebby Matthews against Michael King. Zebby Matthews, not too bad in his debut against the Royals. I know that I played him. And I was happy. Like, it was a bad pitching slate. And, yeah, I mean, he pitched well. Can't do it today. I think he's talented. San Diego just doesn't strike out. I mean, it's as simple as that. They have one of the lowest strikeout rates in baseball. They're right up there with Cleveland. I am going to pass on Matthews today, knowing that I will be playing him down the stretch. Just don't like this particular matchup.
Yeah, there'll be slates down the road that we can use him. This is a horrible spot for him. There's just no Ks in this Padres lineup. So this is an easy stay away spot in my opinion.
Michael King, he has been doing work for us. Absolutely dominated Pittsburgh last time out, and he was awesome. He is pitching great, and I mean, there's a lot of good factors, and when you're digging into like why he's been pitching so good recently, I think I hate playing right-handed pitching against Minnesota. But I think if like Michael King's going to be low owned because he's 15 or he's 10K and he's just the most expensive pitcher on the slate, I actually think I will take some shots on King, even though he's facing a tough Minnesota team.
I don't think he's going to be low owned though. That's the problem.
Well, then it's an easy stay away. If he's popular today, it's an easy stay away spot for me.
I see. I think he's going to be pretty popular, and that's going to keep me from playing him. If I'm wrong, then I'll play him for sure. But I think he's going to be pretty popular.
I think the chalk is going to be Taj Bradley, Kikuchi. I think that's the chalk today. So
yeah, it could be
or even Kyle Harrison, who we're going to talk about in the next game, could
that
get some.
yeah.
Yeah.
See, I think it's gonna be King and Bradley or King and Kikuchi, and then Kyle Harrison somewhere.
I was going to say Kyle Harrison's
also
going to be really popular today. Like
yeah.
So, bats. Any interest in the Minnesota Bats here?
No, definitely no interest in the bats.
Yeah, I think this is one of those games I think is just going to be low scoring, and I don't want bats on Minnesota. I mean, it's a young pitcher that San Diego's facing today. If you wanted to take some shots on San Diego, Profar, Cronenworth, Muriel, David Peralta has found the fountain of youth, and he's been hitting the ball really well. Overall, I probably don't stack San Diego, but I wouldn't talk you off of stacking San Diego.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. They're not somebody that I'd be actively getting into my lineups, but I don't hate them. I think I'd leave them in as like one-offs. But yeah, they're not a top stack for me.
All right, let's go to San Francisco. It's the White Sox visiting the Giants. We got Jonathan Cannon and Kyle Harrison, 7.5 total. The Giants, a 205 favorite, rightfully so. Jonathan Cannon, any interest in him here against San Francisco?
I do not have any interest in Cannon.
Yeah, I mean, he has shown a little bit of upside, but I mean, again, a larger sample size shows or tells us that he's a below average strikeout pitcher and not a spot I want to play him. We'll talk about the Giants in a minute, but yeah, no interest in Cannon. A lot of interest in Harrison. I mean, White Sox stink. It's not a secret at this time. They're awful. Like, they're really, really bad. And Harrison, I mean, I would say he's like a slightly above average pitcher. We still don't know what to fully expect out of him long term, but I would say he is average or slightly above average pitcher.
Yeah, I'm still like in awe on how bad this White Sox team is, even though I've been watching it all season long. But yeah, I'd definitely be getting some Harrison tomorrow in single entry, maybe even cash games. He's fine. He's really, really cheap against such an awful offense at home for under 8K. So I would imagine he's going to be popular, but I don't hate it at all. Definitely attack this White Sox team whenever you can. So I love Harrison.
Any interest in the White Sox bats?
No, I do not.
Yeah, they stink. They're really bad. Andrew Vaughn. If you wanted a one-off, one guy I got. But yeah, the only way you can play Vaughn though is if they play Wild Thing. Some people get that. Giants bats. Good spot. Cannon. I mean, he's a below average pitcher from what we've seen so far. Below average strikeout pitcher. I want to play some power righties for San Francisco today, assuming that they're in the lineup. Fitzgerald, Ramos, Chapman. I think this is a good reverse split spot for the Giants. It's the ballpark, and it's not like they're necessarily the cheapest bats out there either. So
I was just going to say.
Yeah, I just saw their pricing. I had them written down before I saw their pricing. I still kind of have interest in them.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of people are going to want to click Fitzgerald for 52 and Chapman for 5,000.
I'm not going to want to click Fitzgerald over the other shortstops on this slate either.
Right.
So it might be a Chapman, Ramos, find one third piece that's really cheap, 3-man. Conforto maybe at 3,900. Yeah. Yaz is 3,200. I mean, they'll have some cheap bats in this lineup too. What's his name? Casey Schmidt, right? Like, he's been getting some starts here recently at second base. He's 2,600. And they called that what's his name? They called Grant McCray up. Grant McCray is 2,500, and he should be in the lineup today as well. And he's been hitting the ball really well since they called him up. So he might be like one of those cheap pieces that You hope they move him up in the lineup because he's actually a pretty decent hitter so far. And I mean, I hate taking a 9-hitter at home, but he's 2,500. So, I mean, again, small sample size, but he has been hitting ever since they've called him up. So I don't hate
good.
that.
That's a really good call, Stevie. That's a really good call with McRae. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, I mean, like McRae is a prospect. He's not a no-name guy. I mean, I know coming into the year, I'm pretty sure he was a top 25 in the organization type prospect. So, yeah, I think.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome.
And he's fast too. Like McRae gives you stolen base. I know he doesn't have a stolen base yet, but he's fast. That was one of the things that like I noticed about him when I was looking into him. But yeah, he's fast, so that gives you upside as well. All right, we finished it out. Seattle at LA taking on the Dodgers. 8 total. Dodgers a 146 favorite. Woo against Stone. Any interest here in Woo?
I don't. I think this spot is just too tough for him. They don't give him much of a leash either if he's struggling. So I do not have any interest in Woo, even though I respect his talent. This is just too tough of a matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I am a huge fan of how he's been pitching recently, but I hate this spot. Just not doing it. Gavin Stone, this is that like this one hurts, right? Like Gavin Stone is someone I absolutely hate playing.
Yes,
but I love right-handed pitchers against Seattle. I don't know if I can do it today. I don't want to. I really don't like playing this guy. I am on the team like of Gavin Stone has gotten lucky and he actually should be getting hit a lot harder than he is. Seattle is, I mean, they strike out such a high clip. I don't know if I necessarily would talk you off of playing Gavin Stone today.
I don't want to talk anyone off of playing him, but I'm not going to be playing him. Although I am clicking on, Harrison and Stone and seeing what I can get for bats currently just for fun. And, it's pretty nice. You have, $4,300 per player. But you're giving up a lot of strikeout equity with guys like King, guys like Bradley. So I don't know. I probably can't do that. I'm probably going to leave Stone off of my builds when it comes to it on Monday's slate.
Fair enough. Again, I don't think I'd talk you off of it. If he's chalky, I think that's what I would talk definitely. You off of.
Yeah.
But if Gavin Stone's not getting a ton of ownership today, I'll probably take some shots. I will say, like, this lineup overall, a little bit better strikeout-wise with, like, Justin Turner and Robles in there. But I think that you could take a shot on Stone and feel pretty good about it. Any interest in the Seattle bats here?
No, I don't have any interest in Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, I do have some interest in Seattle because I wouldn't be on brand if I wasn't playing some hitters against Gavin Stone, especially if he gets popular. If he gets popular today, take some shots on like Cal Riley, Luke Raley, Polanco, Canzone. Like, again, I think that Gavin Stone's been getting a little lucky. His advanced stats definitely suggest it. So. Dodgers bats. We should note that like Freddie Freeman, they did already say that he's going to be out for this game with the finger. So we know he's not going to play in this one. Max Muncy's getting really close, and could potentially play in this game from what I was reading, which would help with Freddie Freeman.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I was going to say they said he's traveling and could be activated Monday. Was the report that I read on Muncy.
Yep. Yeah,
so
if he's not activated on Monday, he will be activated on Tuesday, is what I read. So,
yep. If Freeman's out, they might activate Muncy here just because I don't know who would get the move. I would assume. I don't know. I really don't know who it would be who kind of gets sent down a release or something. I mean, it'd be interesting to see what they do here. Kiki Hernandez has been playing a lot of third base, and like he's like their utility guy. So I don't think like he would get released, but it'd be interesting to see where the Dodgers go. Dodgers bats. Any interest in the Dodgers?
Not a ton, other than Ohtani is just unstoppable. So I mean, and I don't think it'll be very popular. So if you get to him as a one-off, I think that's great. So yeah, I mean, he's just amazing.
All right, let's play the morning grind game, and then we will get out of here. Under 8K to get 6 or more strikeouts. Who do you got?
I'll take the low-hanging fruit and go with Harrison.
Harrison's the right answer. I agree with that. I'll go Stone. It's just a good matchup against Seattle. Over 8K to score under 15. Who's your bust today?
I'm gonna go with Hout.
Yeah, I like that one. I mean, it's tough. I think I gotta go Gaussman, but he could easily get there. I almost said Woo. I think it's between Gaussman and Woo. I'm with you on how. I think outside of him, it's probably Gaussman or Woo. Over 4K to hit a home run. Who do you got going yard today?
Corey Seager.
Yeah, I like that. And you get a little bit of a discount from Seager to the other shortstops. So I do like that. I'm going to go to my boy Pasquantino to hit a home run today. Dude is he's hitting the ball so much right now. Under 4K to get 2 hits. Who's a cheap bat that you like?
I'll go Nathaniel Lowe.
Yeah, I like that. We talked about Ortiz and his struggles. Man, any Texas bat, I think, against him is a really good spot. I was struggling with this one pre-show, and I still don't feel great about it right now. Assuming that the weather is okay in this game, I assume that he gets the start. Give me Harrison Bader to get 2 hits. I think the Mets are kind of sneaky good in this spot. It's just a weather spot, whether or not the weather holds off. Stack to score 6 or more runs. Who do you got?
I'm going to stick with my Rangers.
Yeah, absolutely love Texas today. Right there with you. Good spot for them. Yeah, I like it. I am going to go Kansas City. I like Kansas City today. I think they score. I think they have a good day runs wise.
Yep.
Any player props or pick 'em plays that you like today?
Well, I already bet too much money on Taj Bradley over strikeout prop on DK. So that's where I'm living or dying on this prop slate.
I like it. I mean, I was looking pre-show. I want to see Harrison strikeout prop. That's one that I have written down to check in the morning. Hard Rock doesn't typically post props the night before. If Harrison comes in at like 5.5, I might even go up to 6.5 on Harrison, but I think it's a really good strikeout matchup for him. So I really like that spot. Any other bets you like today?
No. I was going to try to find like a money line, but there's not enough, like, not even really like really good value. I might bet Houston minus 122. I do like them to win that game. I really like Kikuchi too.
They're part of my 3-pick parlay. So there you go.
Oh, yeah. So there you go. Yep.
So morning grind 3-pick parlay. I think we missed on Friday. But I'm pretty sure we hit like a 650 last week, so we came out ahead. I heard it from somebody on the YouTube chat that I missed again. I'm past my prime. I don't even know what to say to those anymore.
You look 10 years younger, Stevie. You look 10 years younger.
I don't know what to say to those anymore. 3-pick parlay, my morning grind 3-pick parlay today. I'm going over 4.5 total runs for the Kansas City Royals. Absolutely love them today against Fulmer. Over 3.5 total runs for the Mets. You got to pay some juice on this one, but I think the Mets are going to get some runs early in this one against Trevor Rogers. And then the Astros, straight up money line Astros. It's minus 115 on the Hard Rock. This is a plus 427 3-pick parlay. And that is what I got for us here on Monday. Again, it's entertainment purposes, but I did bet it. All the stuff that I give out, I bet. So full transparency anyway. Tim, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
I can't wait to watch the rest of the NASCAR race.
Yeah, me too. And listen, I would tell you all to take some live bets on Bubba Wallace, but I'm not going to live bet him because the odds stink, and I bet him before the race started. So there you go. I bet 25 to 1.
Is that like a humble brag?
It was. Yeah, I feel really good about having a Bubba Wallace outright in my my bets tab. So hopefully that pays off. But yeah, I mean, I'm very high on Bubba this week and very high on Bell, and they were really fast. So yeah, Barry ruining your lineup. Listen, just look at it this way. He had a couple cautions to make the handling on that car better. It's not wrecking loose like it was at the beginning of the race, but Barry, for what it's worth, was dead last in speed in those first few laps. So, what are we, like 4? I think we ran like 42 like actual laps, and Barry was dead last. So I'm pulling up. I ran this earlier just because I was curious. Bubba Wallace, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, the top 5 in speed in that first section. So if you see any good numbers on any of those guys, you'll see good numbers on Hamlin because he spun. But Bell, Reddick, Bubba, if you see a good number on Bell or Bubba, like anything better than like 10 to 1, I'd bet that live. But everywhere I looked, it's not. You're not going to get that. So Martin Truex Jr., Chris Buescher, other guys that are really fast. So hope everyone has a fantastic Monday. We're back Tuesday talking baseball. Good luck, everyone. We'll see you then.